Tell us what you most remember about Zanuck.
Well, when you talk about the pull ballot, he would walk up.
Natalie Wood.
I can do that. The file is quite long, about 26 minutes of transcript, so it won't fit in a single response. I'll convert it into paragraphs without skipping or changing any words. I'll only remove the timestamps and line breaks. Part 1. Stop selling. They fell in love under the glare of movie cameras, music, divorced, remarried, and somehow kept finding their way back to each other. To the world, they were proof that some romances were destined. But behind the magazine covers and fairy tale headlines were secrets, betrayals, music, and questions that never fully disappeared. Then on a cold night off Catalina Island, Natalie Woods was gone. The official explanation seemed straightforward. But witnesses, investigators, music, and even those closest to the case would spend decades questioning what really happened during her final hours. Now, after music years of silence, hidden details from that night are painting a far darker picture. And what they music reveal could change the way we understand one of Hollywood's most haunting mysteries, the Hollywood Golden Couple. Natalie Wood first crossed paths with Robert Wagner on the 20th Century Fox studio lot when she was just, 10 years old and he was 18. He brushed past her in a studio hallway, a handsome young actor with a future ahead of him. She turned to watch him walk away, and then she turned to her mother with a declaration that would prove to be prophetic. She stated that she was going to marry him when she grew up. The words were innocent, the kind of thing a young girl might say about a movie star. Music. But Natalie Wood was not the kind of person who forgot what she wanted. In 1956, Natalie Wood's studio arranged a promotional date for her 18th birthday with Robert Wagner, who was 26 and a rising 20th Century Fox contract star. The date was supposed to be a publicity music stunt, a way to generate photographs and headlines for the young actress who had just earned an Academy Award nomination for Music Rebel Without a Cause alongside James Dean. But the encounter ignited something, music. Real. On July 20, 1956, her 18th birthday, Wagner escorted her to the screening of The Music Mountain. The next morning, he sent flowers and a note promising that he would see her again. The attraction was immediate and undeniable. What started as a studio publicity exercise became a fast-moving Hollywood romance. Music. At the time of their first date, Natalie Wood was already an established Hollywood icon. She had been acting since childhood, appearing in the Christmas classic Miracle on 34th Street at age 9. By 18, she had successfully made the transition from child star to serious adult actress. Her performance in Rebel Without a Cause had earned her an Academy Award nomination, and she was considered one of the most promising young actresses in Hollywood. Music. Robert Wagner was no slouch either. He had cemented his status as a major studio heartthrob, starring in box office music, hits like A Kiss Before Dying and Prince Valiant. His square-jawed good looks and easy charm made him a favorite of the studio system. Together, they were a match made in Hollywood heaven. After a year of highly publicized dating, music, the couple married on December 28, 1957 in Scottsdale, Arizona. Music. The ceremony was deliberately held away from the chaotic Hollywood media glare, a small intimate affair at the Scottsdale United Methodist Church. The wedding was still covered extensively by the press who celebrated it as music, the glittering union of the 20th century. Natalie was 19, Robert was 27. Music. They were young, beautiful, and deeply in love. The photographs from that day show them looking at each other with the kind of adoration that photographers, music, cannot fake. As newlyweds, they did not have any children during this union. Music. They were focused on their careers and each other. They quickly bought a large Beverly Hills mansion on Beverly Drive, a $150,000 home that was a statement of their success. They became the definitive media-proclaimed music golden couple of the late 1950s, the kind of pair that made other celebrities jealous, music, and fans dream of finding the same kind of love. Studio publicists continuously capitalized on their marriage. They made regular glamorous appearances at major film premieres and Oscars after-parties and were, music, perpetually featured on the covers of major movie fan magazines. They were everywhere and they seemed to have everything. But behind the glossy magazine covers and the red carpet smiles, the reality was more complicated. Both were living on the edge financially despite their success. Wagner was being overshadowed by new male leads like Marlon Brando and Paul Newman. Wood was placed on a 14-month suspension with Warner Brothers for refusing to do a movie in England. Music. The pressures of fame, money, and career were already beginning to take their toll. The fairy tale marriage that music had captured the nation's heart was about to show its first cracks. Send, Part 2, and I'll continue from where this ends without skipping any words. Part 2. The couple who had seemed so perfect together would separate, music, after just 4 years of marriage. The divorce that followed was painful, but it was not the end of their story. The first fracture. By late 1960, music, the couple began facing immense career friction that tested the foundation of music, their marriage. Wood's stardom was skyrocketing as she transitioned into mature roles that showcased her range as a dramatic actress. She was no longer the child star of Miracle on 34th Street. She was a serious Academy Award-nominated actress who was being offered the music kinds of roles that actresses dreamed about. Vanner's studio contract with 20th Music Century Fox, on the other hand, was winding down. The roles that had once come easily were drying up. The financial and emotional imbalance in the household was growing, music, and neither of them knew how to fix it. In June of 1961, an unspoken massive rupture occurred at their Beverly Hills home. The details of what happened have been pieced together over the years from interviews with those closest to the couple. Music. Natalie Wood's sister, Lana Wood, and multiple close friends later stated that Wood returned to her parents' house, music, in total hysterics after discovering Wagner in a highly compromising situation with another man. The other man was later identified as David Kendish, Wagner's English butler. According to biographer Suzanne Finstad, music, who wrote the exhaustive biography Natasha, the biography of Natalie Wood, awakened one night to find her husband missing from their bed. She went searching for him and found him in a compromising position with Kendish. The discovery sent Wood into music, a spiral of hysteria. She smashed a crystal glass in her hand, hurting music herself, and fled the house in her nightgown. The injured, distraught actress made her way to a neighbor's home where she called her mother to come pick her up. Her sister, Lana, who was 15 at music, the time, recalled seeing Natalie arrive at their parents' house in a state of complete collapse. Lana described her sister as bleeding and absolutely music, hysterically crying, a complete mess that she had never seen before. Following the immediate emotional breakdown from that weekend, Wood's devastation reached a terrifying music peak. According to multiple sources, including Finstad's biography, Wood attempted something terrible due to her mental health struggles. This resulted in a coma, and she had to have her stomach pumped at the hospital. To fiercely shield Wagner's public image and Hollywood career from destruction, the incident was completely buried. The public was never told what Wood had done. Music. The press was never given the full story of what had caused the breakdown. The official narrative, whatever it was carefully constructed, music, to protect the studio's investment in both actors. The couple officially separated in August 1961. Music. On April 17, 1962, Wood filed a formal divorce lawsuit in a Santa Monica court, legally citing mental cruelties as the sole statutory cause for the dissolution. Music. The term was vague, a catch-all phrase that covered whatever the lawyers wanted it to cover. The public, however, was fed a different story. The music, general public and entertainment tabloids assumed the divorce was caused entirely by music. Wood's highly publicized on-screen chemistry and rumored offset romance with her Splendor in the Grass co-star, music Warren Beatty. The rumors were salacious and easy to believe. A beautiful young actress falling for her handsome co-star. Music. It was a story that sold magazines and made perfect sense to the gossip columnists. But the Warren Beatty narrative was a lie. Wood deliberately, music, let the false rumors stand to protect her ex-husband. Wagner's career would have been destroyed if the true nature of his infidelity had come out. And Wood knew it. She was still in love with him even as she was divorcing him. She, music, took the public blame for the failure of their marriage rather than let the world know what she had discovered in their Beverly Hills home. The sacrifice was immense and it, music, was kept secret for decades. The divorce was finalized on April 27, 1962. The first marriage, music, of Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood was over. Wood went on to marry British producer Richard Gregson, and Wagner continued his acting music career, but the story of their relationship was far from finished. The wounds of the first separation were never fully healed, and the bond between them was too strong to be broken by a single act of betrayal. They would find their way back to each other, remarry, and try again. But the second chance music would end in tragedy, and the secrets of that night would remain hidden for decades. The Interim Years and Second Marriage Part 3. Following their April 1962 divorce, music, both actors moved on to other marriages and built new lives apart from each other. Wood married British producer Richard Gregson in 1969 music, and gave birth to her first child, a daughter named Natasha, in 1970. Wagner married actress Marion Marshall in 1963, fathering a daughter named Katie, and also helped raise Marshall's two sons from a previous marriage. On the surface, music, both had found happiness with new partners. But the connection between Vanner and Wood had never truly been severed. In August of 1971, Wood discovered that her husband, Richard Gregson, was having an affair with her secretary. The betrayal was devastating. Music. She filed for divorce immediately, and the marriage that had produced her only child was over. Months later, at a Hollywood party, an erunged music, Wood, and a recently divorced Wagner crossed paths again. According to biographer Suzanne Finstad, the sight of each other that night was all music it took. The old feelings came rushing back, and within weeks they were inseparable. On July 16, 1972, music, just 3 months after Wood's divorce from Greg's son was finalized, they remarried. The ceremony took place aboard a boat named the Rambling Rose in Paradise Cove, California. A fitting location for a couple music, whose love story had always been tied to the water. They spent their second honeymoon on Catalina Island, the same island where their story would one day end, music, in tragedy. In an essay written during their time apart, Wood revealed that the happiest era of their first marriage ironically took place on Vanner's original yacht, the My Other Lady. The boat was their sanctuary, a floating escape from the pressures of Hollywood and the demands of their studio contracts. Wagner taught her everything she knew about the water. He showed her how to manage marine radios, how to handle mooring lines, how to read radar systems, and how to properly wear life jackets during their frequent weekend trips to Catalina Island. The yacht was where they felt most like themselves, away from the cameras, away from the public, away from the expectations music that came with being Hollywood's golden couple. She wrote about those weekends with a tenderness that suggested they were the foundation of their love. But even in those happy times, there were signs that the water was not entirely, music, safe for her. In her essay, Wood detailed a chilling prophetic incident that occurred in January of 1960. Music. The couple was returning from Catalina during a freezing winter trip. The weather was cold and unforgiving. As they approached the dock, Wood tried to throw a mooring line to secure the boat. She lost her balance, music, slipped, and fell directly into the ocean. The water was frigid, and the shock was, music, immediate. Vanner had to physically fish her out of the water, pulling her back onto the boat and wrapping her in blankets to warm her. The incident was frightening in the moment, but it also solidified her intense fear, music, of deep open water. That fear would stay with her for the rest of her life. The irony of their love for the water and her phobia of it was never lost on those who knew them. They spent years sailing together, spending weekends on their boat, and she, music, never stopped being afraid. The couple combined their households. Wagner welcomed Wood's daughter Natasha, becoming a music stepfather to the young girl. In 1974, they welcomed their only biological child together, a daughter named Courtney. The blended family was complete, and for a few years, the Vanners seemed to have found the happiness that had eluded them during their first marriage. Professionally, both actors flourished during this second chapter. Wood won a Golden Globe for her role in the television miniseries From Here to Eternity. Wagner found massive television success starring in Heart to Heart 1979 to 1984, a series that made him a household name all over again. They had the careers, the family, and the love that they had always wanted. But by 1981, severe strain emerged. Wood began filming the movie Brainstorm with actor Music, Christopher Walken, a sci-fi thriller about a device that records human experiences. Music. The role required long hours and intense emotional preparation. Wood and Walken developed a close professional relationship that made Vanner intensely, Music, jealous. He later admitted in his memoir that he felt his wife was being emotionally unfaithful to him on the set. Music. The tension would come to a head on the night of November 28, 1981 aboard a yacht named the Splendor Music, anchored off the coast of Catalina Island. The boat was a gift that Wood had given Wagner, named to honor her conquering of a lifelong fear of water while filming Splendor in the Grass. On that night, Music. The cast of the tragedy was complete. Robert Wagner, Natalie Wood, Music, Christopher Walken, and the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern. The events that unfolded on that boat would end in a tragedy that has never, Music, been fully explained. What happened next would become one of Hollywood's greatest unsolved mysteries. The Music investigation, the autopsy, and the decades of speculation that followed would ultimately force Robert Wagner to confront questions he had spent Music years trying to avoid. The tragic night, Natalie Woods died.